Well,
Hello there.
as the Sundance Kid once said to Butch Cassidy, who are those guys?
It begins again. What a nice
Man, oh
show.
man,
Jeez.
I'll say. I'm Gary Lambert, and that guy over there, yeah, I'm pointing the right way, is David Gans. And we are back for another go round of Dead Air for this final tour of Dead and Company. And well, we had a little prelude to it at Cornell a little while back, but this is the start of the tour proper. And these guys are not messing around.
Oh, I gotta say, man. Just for the record, it's May 19th, 2023, and the tour begins at the Forum in Los Angeles, California. And the first set was Shakedown Street, Cold Rain and Snow, Mississippi Half Step, They Love Each Other, St. Stephen the 11, and Deal. And as is our habit, Lambert and I are exchanging texts during the set, sort of annotating our pleasure in the whole thing. And I wrote down in Mississippi Half Step Jeff Clementi solo, and then John Mayer and Jeff Clementi later in the song. Just really
Right.
going at it.
That exemplified what David Crosby once said about the Grateful Dead: electronic Dixieland. I almost said Disneyland, and well, of course, they're not that far from Disneyland, so why not? But
Yeah.
um, we should tell you we are here at the behest and under the auspices of Nugs.net, who are bringing this entire tour to anyone who wants to get it. You can buy shows a la carte, or you can subscribe to the whole dang thing. And right now, my prescription is subscribe to the whole dang thing because it's looking like this is going to be a tour of historic proportions. Nugs.net is really, David has said this before, the killer app for live music lovers. It
It's
brings
true.
so much music to people. Live streaming concerts like this. You can also download recordings after the fact of shows like this. They have a full library of so many incredible artists: Bruce Springsteen, Wilco, tons of others. And it's unlike anything that's ever really existed. There's never been coverage of a tour like this where you can watch the shows in real time, listen to them after the fact. If you subscribe to Nugs, you can stream shows for an unlimited amount of time. And
And you can do this thing like go back and listen to that famous Bruce Springsteen live show from Winterland in December of 1978, and the first Dead and Company show from that they have in there from 2016 or whatever. There's so much great music.
right, and you could also listen to whatever show Bruce Springsteen is playing wherever he is in Europe right now. It'll probably be available to you tomorrow or the day after. This stuff comes out so fast, beautifully mixed. As you are hearing, Derek Featherstone, the house sound man, is doing a magnificent job of delivering
Yeah.
this music with every bit of clarity and power. So we really recommend that you check out Nugs.net. David, you want to run down that set list, as is your habit?
Well, I did once already, but I think it's worth saying
Oh,
it again. It's true. Shakedown Street, Cold Rain and Snow, Mississippi Half Step, They Love Each Other, St. Stephen the 11, and Deal. If
it flew right by
you
me.
might be, it's cool, man. We're excited. If you're watching this on YouTube as the free preview of the Dead and Company tour, I hope you're getting your uh, uh, curiosity satisfied here. It's a I'm pretty impressed with the music. But we talked to John Mayer about this just very recently, and wanted to begin our series of between sets interviews by talking with John about this. So why don't we go to that, Gary?
Yeah, let's do that. John is one of our favorite people to talk to about music, about this band, about what a brotherhood it has become and remains, and about the future. What's going to happen next? No one really knows, but everyone's very optimistic about when this band's paths diverge. It'll just lead to more great music. We'll tell you, we're not going to come back after this, so we will say good night. We'll let John take it from here and enjoy the rest of the show. And we'll be back talking to you tomorrow night. So take it away, John Mayer. Well, who better, I ask you, to kick off this season on the farewell tour? And we'll find out what farewell really means. But on the final tour of Dead and Company, who better to start this off than our friend, your friend, John Mayer?
Hello. Gary. Hello, David.
Hi, John. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Good to have you. Hey, John, I'm going to make a little atmospheric change just for you, okay? There we go.
Yes, you know that's my favorite jacquard. Oh, that's actually not a jacquard. I thought now this. I'll play host for a second. This is the upholstery on your cherished, prized couch of many years. And I thought forever that it was a jacquard pattern when in fact it is just a sort of I don't know what you call it, just a loom,
Yeah, perhaps a brocade.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Anyway,
it will be Googled.
All we know is that the couch abides.
Amazing.
Welcome to another episode of Deep Textiles with Gary and John.
I know. You can always go deeper.
But let's get serious.
So, John, oh, for God's sake.
It's Bob Weir.
Get back to it. I just was going to make some comment about how pleasant it was to see you guys hit the ground running at Cornell last week.
Yeah. That was a great show at the perfect time to have a great show for this band. It was like a dream. It was really dreamy. That's all I can say. I mean, we've never played a room like that. I mean, Bob and Mickey have, but I've never been in a room. I know Dead and Company's never been in a room like that. And I know that you weren't there, David, but Gary, you were there. If you had a dream that Dead and Company played a show, you might describe it as what it looked like. Well, it was kind of an auditorium, but it kind of had a church window, and the light was beaming through the church window. And they're like, weren't a ton of people there, but everyone there, the energy was on 10 out of 10, and the music just floated. Like you'd have a dream about music sounding like that, And for me, it was like, there's this band, and it's incredible to say. I mean, it's been together 8 years, which is the length of a lot of bands who come and go. 8 years is a tenure as a band. And there have been times where I have felt that that we've done such a good job of individualizing that sometimes we pull away from Jerry Garcia and Grateful Dead a little bit, and that's okay. We become a little more Dead and Company and a little less umbilically tied to Jerry Garcia and Grateful Dead. And this show at Cornell, to me, was this absolute reconnection with the DNA of that. So not only was it, I thought, musically really great, but for me personally, I knew where I was. I knew that I was in a hallowed hall. I knew who had played, and Phil and everyone in the band had played there. And it was just a wonderful way to get back in contact with the original sort of theory of the band. And that to me was really important and centering to kick off a tour with, the final tour.
Well, the funny thing about that hallowed hall aspect of things is its reputation as the hallowed hall lay almost exclusively with one show.
Right.
Because musicians who went to play Barton Hall generally said it was a miserable sounding place. The Grateful Dead thought it was a miserable sounding place the times they played there. In fact, there's a story of Jerry walking on stage the second time they played in 1980 and saying, "Oh God, not this place again." Yeah, because the hall only got its reputation from that show, and it lived up to it this time somehow.
Well, you mean our show?
Yeah.
I've never seen in my life a show commemorating a show from years ago have the same crackle, I think, as the thing it was commemorating. I mean, that's a full court shot, and I feel like the ball went in. I don't, and I speak not from me. I'm not patting myself on the back. I think I speak for the band. I think I speak for everyone in the audience. Like it's how many times can you say, "Hey, let's get a party going again," and have the party be as good as the party it's commemorating?
Yeah, rarely.
And for us, I think it was a morale boost. I think, and for Deadheads who, are going, what's going on? What's this thing going to be like this final run? I think the Cornell show was like pivotal in terms of showing people like this is what the run's going to be.
Did you guys give thought to? I like the way you started with the same song that the '77 show opened with, and then immediately went to a
Yeah.
different song that didn't exist at that time. So it made clear that you weren't going to do that silly thing of recreating the set list.
Yep.
How conscious were you guys of referencing the original show in your selections?
The question came up very quickly, and I don't think anybody really had the idea. It was more of a curiosity. I don't think anyone was intent on it, but it was like, do we do the whole set? And I think everyone was like you said, that like that's kind of silly. And I think it must have been somewhere in the Matt Bush world of open with Minglewood to make people think that, which is a wonderful way to grab people's attention and have innocent play with their expectations into thinking, oh my God, they're gonna play, for better or worse, they're gonna play the whole thing top to bottom. And then to not have that, I think, is a fun roller coaster, you know.
See, I started a rumor that you guys were going to do the original set list in reverse order, but that was immediately proved bullshit. So.
That's something we would talk about and say we would do, and then the night of the show would kind of come way too quickly, and we'd go, we can't, there's no time.
And Matt Bush actually wanted it known to me that the second song you played, Althea, was played at Barton Hall in 1980. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, so you just jumped a couple of years to in the set list, but it was a show that was all about who you guys are right now, and you went in there bearing the weight of history in so many ways, the weight of the history of that building and that show in 1977, and the history of Dead and Company, which is, as a touring entity, winding down, but that wasn't a winding down kind of show.
No, and it was not a winding down kind of show. Look, I mean, there's a lot to say about finality and closure and doing a last tour, and perhaps if it's done correctly, it doesn't feel like it winded down. I don't know if that's I don't know that anybody wants a soft landing. Well, just when I stopped caring, it was over. No one wants to do that. I think if it's done in my mind, and I know everyone has a different take on this in the band, I'm sure. In my mind, it's done correctly if everyone says that should keep going because the music is so good. And that to me is a fine place to park it, I think. Only because the alternative is that you make people go, yeah, it's about right. And no, we don't want to do that. I don't want to be involved in something that makes people go, oh, good time ended. Well done. Totally figured out what I'd not want anymore. I would like to play so well that it's just a blitz of emotions, of bittersweet and incredible and sad. I mean, and the reason I say that is because I want us to be in control of that. I want there to be a graceful ending, not an ending that you have to look back and go, oh, I guess that was the end. I think there's something deep about, I don't know, having something to do with giving that world of Grateful Dead music the opportunity to say, ta-da, I don't know, at least in my interpretation of the overall story, I would, as Bob said one time about Trey, his playing the Fare Thee Well show was the jewel in his heavenly crown, he said, which I thought was really sweet. And the jewel in my heavenly crown, to me, would be giving this ride a ta-da, a fiend, a real moment of real time, everyone in the same moment, reading from the same page, experiencing an end that everyone can be involved in.
Well, I have a tendency to just listen to the show in real time and not really think about it in its historical context or whatever. And I got the distinct impression last week that you guys were going to do that thing of leaving it all on the field every damn time between now and the end.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the glory of the whole thing is smoke them if you got them, and I feel like everyone right now is at the peak of understanding one another musically. I finally feel like I have some tenure and I can make more notes than I could have in the past. And I can go, And that's great. I'm a little less scared of someone being mad at me. It's, 8 years into being in a band, I can assert myself a little more. And that's really nice. I can have a thought and go, what if we did the X, Y, and Z? And it's nice when it works. So, look, think of the rhythm of this conversation. This is a different rhythm than we've ever had in a conversation, just because there is so much sort of submerged and exposed emotion having to do with this being the final run. It's deep. It's really deep.
But, if we've learned anything in the Grateful Dead, no ending is really an ending. It's a transition to the next.
That's right.
There's always some continuity between what just happened, what's happening now, what's happening next. And, you guys are doing a final tour, but I can't imagine any of you closing the door on reconfiguring once or twice, or, not as a whole band in smaller subsets.
I agree with you. And one thing I don't want to do is ever play games when it comes to this stuff. I'm not into maybe not. I want to be like really transparent, because I'm not into playing games with people and how their wallets work or any of that stuff. I'm not interested in that. It is absolutely like you said, it's a final tour. But no one's talked about there being other configurations or even another show somewhere down the line. It's so vaporous in terms of that ever becoming a thing. But I think you're right. It doesn't mean goodbye in the sense that you see any 1, 2, 3, 4 people together on a stage at a given moment. I just think this band has done so well and has created something against so many odds that the ending of it will have a bearing on the memory of the entirety of it. The way a song ends has everything to do with the way you feel about the beginning and the middle of that song. You've been in jams before. If the ending just where no one cares about how good it was in the first half, right? Nobody cares. Everything rests with the power of the ending. And if the ending is right, then your entire memory. It's why bands who do shows put all their hits in the last 5 songs on the set list. The ending frames your perception of the entirety of the thing,
That's very true. And Jerry said that to me in an interview in 1981 once. It all kind of hinges on the last thing we played.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that should be on a t-shirt.
And anyway. the last thing you played informs the next thing you played. I mean, think about it. Fare Thee Well, as gargantuan an event as it was the inflection point that allowed this to happen.
That's right. I mean, and what a crazy timeline that was too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. There's that great line. I think Steve Parrish says it in the Amazon Long Strange Trip documentary, and he says no one was really the boss of the band, paraphrasing, of course. If the carburetor broke down in the bus, then that day the bus was the boss, And I think that still has a through line in this band, which is the universe is the boss, really, ultimately. I got to tell you, most of the time when someone from the organization calls me and says, "Do you want to do this with Dead and Company?" I go, "Ask the other guys, and if they want to, I'm in." It really is like we're all sort of Ouija boarding. And as a solo artist, that's new for me, and it's been so informative. I think it's probably informed my future relationships in every degree of my life. Allowing yourself to be surprised by the outcome of things you don't have 100% to do with.
Collaboration is a powerful thing, and it's a different way of doing things than being a sole proprietor, as it were.
That's right. And you have to let go, and you learn to let go, and also I can't tell you how many times I've let go and I've been proven wrong that something was great. A perfect example is, I feel like you guys might have experience with this. Like, I might see a set list that we're about to play and go, I don't know about this. This has a lot of in my mind, this has a lot of sort of like a smaller players, song lines, And I'll be proven wrong a lot of the time, because we'll just do stunning versions of Black Throated Wind Mexicali blues, Big River, you know, and I'll go, I wouldn't have done that. I would have clung to the kind of bigger ones, quote unquote, the bigger ones. And being in a band where you go, all right, let's find out what happens. I think I know what's going to happen. And you're wrong. Most of the time, I mean, I like being wrong to the tune of everyone winning, you know, the band being great and the tunes being great. And so I'm learning that my model in my mind of something is worth a lot less than I
Trust the process.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the truisms of the Grateful Dead culture too. It's like, you know, the set list looking good on paper doesn't necessarily mean it was brilliantly played. And sometimes the set list looks kind of pedestrian, but they kicked ass all the way through.
I've experienced it firsthand. And you go, wow, that was a killing, you know, Lost Sailor or something, you know. Yeah. Which, by the way, I love Lost Sailor.
Me too.
I love it.
You
Really
know,
happy it's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing throughout the history of this music is that every change in relationships in a band inform everybody's music. You know, like from the day the Warlocks told Dana Morgan, the kid whose father owned the music store, well, we're going to lose our gear, but you're not going to be the bass player anymore. We've got this guy, Phil. And that changed the way everybody played with one another. And then bringing in Keith or bringing in TC or any number of things changes the dynamic, not just of the sound of the band because of the instrument that's being played, but the way each player relates to the others. And I see that happening again. I heard it at Cornell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a matter of, because you're right, one different capacitor in the circuit changes the whole thing. And it's been really, I think, a fun challenge to honor sort of what Jay brings in his style. And also, I've been learning what makes Grateful Dead music Grateful Dead music. You know, what are the variables and what are the constants? What are the necessities? You know, and it's been really interesting, sort of piecing together the puzzle that you know, there really is a certain kind of a swing to Grateful Dead music. And if you don't have that swing, and Jay's got that swing, and really it's a matter, I think, of making him feel welcomed enough to bring the swing, you know. Yeah. And to me, I think Grateful Dead music is defined by a certain kind of a swing. And Billy lives and breathes that swing, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's a really fun, engaging kind of a challenge to go, how do you not change a single iota of Jay's vibe, but honor the swing and the way, and you know, we've all had to do that. You know, I've had to do that. Oteil's had to do it. How much of this can we bring of our own personal unique touch, and how much of this is as inherent to the music as the lyrics are, you know? And it's been really fun. And I think right before sound check at Cornell, something clicked. And then, because we had a conversation and like we all kind of clicked. And then from sound check on, it was like, oh, you know, you can tell the rhythm section's great when your guitar playing is easy. When your guitar just plays itself, you've got the rhythm section right. And when your guitar plays itself with fewer notes than you've ever had to play, you know that everything's percolating. And so that's been, I think we have something going on. I think we have something that's special and is going to be fun to investigate every night.
Well, people are going to be watching this between sets, so we will already have seen some evidence of where you're at the beginning of the tour. And now people are going to be watching the second set with this conversation in mind.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but we've run out of time.
Guys, did you even ask a question? I feel bad. Did I just crack the bottom?
No, we've interviewed Bill Walton, so you're okay. You have nothing to worry about being too verbose, but we love it when Bill does it too. Yeah, John, listen, think about maybe coming around at the end of the tour too and doing kind of a
after action report.
We would love to have you.
And then we want a full 2 hours with you on Tales from the Golden Road.
I think
the big debrief.
I think that will be essential to my heart and a lot of other people's hearts to make sure that we're all still hanging out after the party and no one goes home immediately after the sleepover and we order some breakfast and everyone hangs out and we still hold on to each other. And I will be there for that.
I like the
Great.
sound of that, brother. Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you
look
both.
forward to that.
And let's have a very, it's going to be bittersweet, but I think it's going to be incendiary and fun and colorful and exciting and uproarious and great. And that's the part that I'm holding on to.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
tour, my friend.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Gary. See you out there.
Take care, you guys.